Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 o'clock and we shall start now. Thank you all for joining in, and I hope you are all fine, doing great. Richa ma'am, are you there? Richa ma'am, if you can hear me, if you are there. I can't see your microphone, so please confirm if you are there. Richa ma'am, Mahendra ji, please confirm if you have joined in. Yeah, perfect. I can see you now. Thank you. So, ma'am, shall we begin now?
Hanji Manoj, I think we can start.
Okay, great. Thank you, ma'am. So we have 41 participants who have joined in. Some of them are watching on YouTube also. And we shall start now. So good afternoon all. I'm your host, Manoj Kumar, as usual, every Friday, Saturday. So I welcome you all to today's session. Thank you so much for joining in. I welcome our esteemed speakers, Mrs. Richa Goyal, madam, and Mr. Mahendra Rai, who will be joining us very shortly. And it's a proud moment for us. Both of them are wonderful pharmacy professionals who have scaled up their ladder with exceptional achievements. This session would be divided into two major sections, and both of the speakers have agreed to share some wonderful insights for you for HEOR and also for CV and effective communication. So you have to stay tuned till the end of the session to get most of this session. And before we proceed, I would like to invite Mahendra sir is not joined yet, so that's fine.
Manoj, he'll take 2-3 more minutes. He's
no problem,
asked like
no
we can proceed.
No
We can proceed.
Yes, fine, madam. So I'll introduce you and then we'll proceed ahead, and then post that
Hanji, please.
Mahendra ji
Sure.
will join in. Okay.
Hanji, sure.
So great. So just a moment. Yes. Okay. So Richa madam comes with, she is an MPharm and she comes with more than MPharm MBA, sorry, MPharm in pharmacology and MBA in business management. She is also doing her PhD in clinical research. She comes with more than 14 years of experience in HEOR and leads the scientific literature review team at IQVIA. She has an extensive experience on various systematic reviews and meta-analysis projects. She has written a lot of publications, 50 plus, and she has also written a chapter in one of the books. So I welcome you, ma'am, and please do tell us more about your journey as a pharmacist in this wonderful field of HEOR and your experience with IQVIA and how you are helping pharmacy professionals to start and plan their career in HEOR. So thank you so much for agreeing to share your experience, and stage is all yours.
First of all, thank you, Manoj. Thank you so much from my and Mahendra's side for inviting us.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you so much to all the people, students, faculty members, professionals who have joined us today and have given us a chance to share our experience with all of you. I know it is a working day, but still you all have managed to take out this 1 hour, which we'll try to make it most for all of us. We'll make it full of learning and interactions. Yes. So me and Mahendra will try to wrap up our session quickly so that we have ample time for the questions as well. And definitely. I see Mahendra has also joined. So Mahendra, some opening lines from
Mahendra ji, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Manoj ji, and good afternoon to all participants. And I'm really sorry, my last meeting got stretched a bit, but yeah, I think we'll make up for the time. So I'm sure this will be a really useful session for all of you. So thanks Manoj ji for inviting us. So I think we'll make most of it for the students who have joined us today.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much for joining in. And, before madam starts, I'll just give a little bit of introduction about you so that, participants know about it. So Mahendra sir is, he has done his MPharm and also various certification courses and degrees. He is a regional thought leader at HEOR in HEOR and real world evidence with more than 14 years of experience. At Eversana APAC, he heads overall HEOR and RWE practice for the APAC region, including China and Japan. And he is doing lots and lots of work on this field, and he will be walking us through real world evidence, which is picking up and really being thought about by pharmaceutical companies. Real world evidence was not so in limelight few years back, and thanks to technology we are able to analyze so much of data and work on real world evidence and patient plan or patient centric approaches. So Mahendra sir, you will be guiding us a lot about this, I'm sure, and help our students understand this. So thank you so much again, and stage is all yours, both of yours, so please carry on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Richa, you'll be presenting the slides?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let me just quickly share my screen, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Manoj, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Just a moment, I'm just checking. You are a co-host, yeah. Please drive, ma'am, now.
Ji.
Yeah.
I'm sharing a presentation. Please let me know once you are able to see this.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Kindly make it full screen, and yes, we are done.
Please. So Mahendra, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Richa. So again, I welcome all the students who have joined us for this session, where we are going to give a brief introduction of what HEOR is, what is real world evidence, and then we'll also talk about some of the trends which are impacting pharmaceutical industry, and what are the typical jobs that are there for pharmacy students like you. And there is a session by Richa where again she is going to talk about how to build your CV, how to improve your communication, because these are also very key aspects which help you get into industry, survive in the industry. So I think this is also something which we are going to cover. So in the interest of time, I think I'll quickly jump to the agenda. So I think the first thing was we wanted to talk about ourselves so that you can understand as a student that what your journey would be in a pharmaceutical company or in a services industry, KPOs, what kind of profiles are there. So I'm just kind of walking you through my profile. So between 1998 to 2006, I did my diploma in pharmacy, then I did my bachelor's in pharmacy, and then my master's in pharmacy. So yeah, all possible degrees in pharmacy I've taken. And then I started my career in clinical research in 2006. And so I was working with a small research foundation called Talwar Research Foundation, which was funded by Department of Biotechnology. And then I moved to a company called Martin and Harris, which is also known as Walter Bushnell. So yeah, most of the work that I did between these two organizations was clinical research. And after that, then I moved to Parexel in Chandigarh, where I started as an associate for HEOR, and then I learned what HEOR is, and it was mostly on-job learning because we were not trained on what HEOR is, and at that time we thought it's something to do with statistics, and we had no idea what HEOR is all about. So yeah, because there nobody was doing HEOR at that time. So yeah, it was kind of an on-job learning, and then I moved to another company called Capita, worked there for some time, and then after that I was hired by TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, in 2014 to set up this business in Tata's. So I mean, Tata is a big ship, but they were not into HEOR and RWE, so they hired me, and my job was to set up this team, set up this business. So I did that, and I was there with them for around 3.5 years, which is a very small time considering Tata's, because people tend to work for them for 10 years on an average, or even more than that. So I had to move out because of some career aspirations. So I moved to IQVIA, joined as a business head at IQVIA. I did set up the team at IQVIA for India business unit. Yeah, so again, that was my second stint where I was setting a team from scratch at IQVIA India business unit. And then I have moved now to Eversana, again in the same shoes, but this time I'm setting up a regional team. So this team is in India, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, and China. So these are the locations, and Singapore, obviously. So these are the locations where I'm setting up the team. The largest chunk is in India, and then small teams in these countries. China will become bigger in some time because of the kind of business that is there in China. So yeah, that's the kind of journey that I had. And probably once you enter the any pharma company, probably this is the kind of journey that each one of you will also have over a period of time. So we start at a very small level, but then we continue to grow, and that's why we explore, we learn, and we have to adapt to change. So that's how the journey would be in a industrial or a industry setup. And maybe on the next slide, I will ask Richa to talk about her journey, and then we can start on the HUR part. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So my name is Richa Goyal and I work currently as a principal with IQVIA. So my education started with a very interesting note, I would say. I come from a family of doctors. So my parents are doctors, uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone is a doctor. And I could not clear my PMT. Okay. And if somebody asked me, have I ever failed? And which is a very normal question for interview also for most of us. And I can accept it very openly. Yes, I did fail. I could not clear my PMT. And that is how I landed into pharmacy. But no regrets so far. The journey has been very, very rewarding. I ended up doing bachelor's and master's in pharmacy and pharmacology, earning a gold medal for my family and also a recipient of IDMA GP Nair award. Right. So that for that award, I visited Mumbai for the first time in 2007. And at that time, when I saw Mumbai, I was coming from Chandigarh. I was a bit overwhelmed. It was the first time I saw so many people together. Okay, and I found Mumbai really very mesmerizing and beautiful, and I actually prayed like, can I work in the city? Yes, dreams do come true. They have come true for me, right? And I encourage and aspire you all to keep dreaming, keep working towards your goal. How I landed into HEOR? A company came called Heron, which is called as Paraxel now. They were interviewing candidates through campus placements, and I was lucky enough to embark into this, I would say, unknown field at that time. So the nomenclature was also not very common. That's HEOR now. So the other nomenclature that was used was hero. So I was also part of TCS and other companies as well. And in many companies, we were addressed as the hero team rather than HEOR team. And Mahendra would relate to that, right? Or HEOR team. So these are some of the nomenclatures which are not to be used. It is HEOR. Right. And then I started my journey with my first company at an analyst level, and growing up the ladder throughout, I have been learning. I recently completed my MBA in business management. In fact, this July, just 1 month back, my result came. I cleared all the 4 semesters. And what I want to tell you all is keep on learning. Why I did MBA? Because I thought it was a personal interest as well. And I thought that will help me in my career ladder. But again, one point to all of you, do not go after that herd mentality. If your friends are doing something or learning something, just analyze how it is going to beneficial for you at a personal level, whether it will give you that kind of a holistic view, right, towards your goals, what you aspire to become. So it has to be an amalgamation of your personal and professional goals. And currently, I'm also pursuing PhD in clinical research management at IQVIA. I lead the global delivery part in the scientific literature review team. I have a team of, sorry, the slide is a bit outdated. I have a team of close to 90 plus members, right, in my team based out of India, looking after the global delivery. Okay, so the journey, I describe my journey as a learner, and I want to keep on learning. And if somebody asks my progress, it's WIP, it's work in progress. I am working towards it. Okay, so with this, I would like to go ahead and start with a brief introduction of health economics and outcomes research. So why this concept of HEOR came up? So initially, if you remember, at your parents' time, what used to happen was there was one common drug, I would say, for any kind of a disease, which was prescribed to all the patients, all the patient pool. In HEOR, the concept now comes to towards customized patient needs, catering to that, and how the drug is effective not only in terms of efficacy and safety, but in terms of economy as well. And another thing, the quality of life as well. So there is a thing called as time trade-off method. For example, if I give a certain drug to a patient, that drug might increase the life of the patient, let's say by 10 years, but the patient will be on bed, will be in a vegetative state. Or would you like to go for a drug which might increase the patient's life expectancy only by, let's say, 5 years, but the patient will be more than self-sufficient? So there's a utility score 0 to 1. 1 is the state of perfect health and 0 is the state when the person is dead. So it might bring the health state of the person close to, let's say, 7 or 8, but the life expectancy might be decreased. So health economics help us in analyzing those risk benefit or cost benefit analysis, I would say. Okay, so you have to see what benefit the drug or the device has, not only in terms of the efficacy and safety, but in terms of the quality of life as well as the cost. So this is how the concept of health economics came into being. Health economics and outcomes research, we have bucketed it separately. Health economics, it means the economic aspects, and outcomes research, what this will have an impact on the outcomes. So these kinds of analysis are used in clinical research, epidem, policy research, patient-centric endpoints, health services, and economic evaluations, right? Why do we need HEOR evidence? What was the need? Why this practice? So we have seen in the previous slides, and I've tried to explain briefly. So we know that clinical trials have been the gold standard. And see, HEOR and RWE studies, they cannot replace the clinical trials. Okay, they can only supplement the evidence. Right, as we can see, supplement RCT with RWE. If there are any evidence gaps which the RCT cannot analyze, RW study or HEOR studies substantiate those. And these studies also promote in hearing the voice of the patient as well as the caregivers. It also helps in development of various cost containment strategies, keeping a check on the budget and the expenditure. For example, in a market where most of the things are out of pocket, where patient has to pay for most of the expenses, these cost containment strategies can be taken. Adapting data to different population. A clinical trial occurs in a very, very controlled setup. Okay, so when the drug is all out in the market, there we see how it is adapted as per the different patient population. And of course, to comply with the health technology assessment, that's the HTA submission. So nowadays in HTA submission, HEOR study is a necessity. Mahendra will talk in a bit more about real-world insights and real-world evidence, but this slide generally shows the various offerings that are bucketed as HEOR market access, RWE, that's real-world evidence, real-world data. And these in a nutshell, I would say, comprise various kinds of job profiles that are available in the HEOR and RWE space. So in HEOR, we have different offerings like systematic reviews, meta-analysis, epidemiological reviews, pharmacoeconomic modeling, which includes your cost effectiveness models and budget impact models. Various market access, pricing governing system, landscaping, payer research, real world evidence and data, where you work a lot on claims databases, registries, EMR and EHR data. And there is something which cuts across all of this, that is the value communication, which forms a part of your scientific writing and your publication management. So with this, I hand it over to Mahendra to take you through the RWE part. So I'll put myself on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Richa. So for real world evidence, it's important to understand some of the key terminologies which are very frequently used, and you will come across when you read about or hear about real world evidence. So the first term that is very commonly used is real world data. And as per the ISPOR task force definition, so I don't know if you guys are aware of ISPOR. So ISPOR is basically International Society for Pharmacoeconomics and Outcomes Research. And the task force for ISPOR, they have defined real world data as the data which is used for decision making that are not collected in conventional randomized control trials. So this is the data which is collected beyond any randomized control trials. US FDA, how they have defined it, so they say that real world data are data relating to patient health status and or the delivery of the healthcare delivery routinely collected from a variety of sources. And some of the examples of these sources include electronic medical records. So basically, you have EMRs in hospitals, claim data, patient surveys or consumer data, registries and data collected in observational studies, chart reviews. So these are various sources of real world data. So that is what real world data is. Next terminology is real world insights. So once you have real world data, which are nothing but raw numbers, patient level data, but these are all raw numbers. Once you put some statistics on top of that data or some analytics on top of that data, that becomes insights. So by definition, these are insights which are generated from real world data using appropriate scientific and or analytics to generate trends from the available data. So that's what real world insights is. And if I have to give an example, there were two vaccines primarily which were given for COVID in India, Covaxin and Covishield. Now I think Sputnik is also available in some of the cities. So if you have data of 10,000 patients who are either on Sputnik or on Covishield or Covaxin, and you are simply going through that data of 10,000 patients, there is nothing that you will understand out of it until unless we put some stats on top of this data, do some analysis, do some slicing and dicing of that data, arrange or rearrange this data. So for example, we can look at the kind of adverse events which are reported in population less than 50 years and population more than 50 years. So that is one kind of trend that you can see. You can also kind of arrange this data based on the number of people who are in different groups that have been vaccinated. So maybe 18 plus. So we have group 18 to 44 and then 45 plus. So that kind of arrangement can be done. And within that group also, you can look at 30 to 40, how many, and then 18 to 30, how many. So that kind of trends are what is real world insights. Then coming to real world evidence. So again, these are also insights, but here the intention is to support a claim or belief. So basically, you have a hypothesis in mind, and then you try to prove or disapprove that hypothesis. So that's where the insights, they become evidence, and they are no more insights. So these are not simply aggregated data which are giving some direction. These are data or aggregated data which are now evidence, which can be used to kind of prove a belief or also support a claim. So that is what real world evidence is. So evidence is shaped, but the data is simply raw numbers. So as I said, if you have data for 10,000 patients and you go through it, it's nothing but raw numbers, and you cannot make out anything out of that until unless you do some analytics on top of it, do some stats on top of it, get some aggregated numbers, and then they will provide you the direction, or you can also try to use these numbers to prove or disapprove something. So that is what are the key terminologies as part of the real world terminologies. Can we move to the next slide? Richa, can you? Yeah, thank you. Here we are trying to understand how real world evidence is different from randomized control trials. So I believe everybody knows what randomized control trials are. And as you would understand that these control trials are protocol driven. So these trials are like, they have to stick to the protocol. So whatever is mentioned in the protocol, everything in the trial has to be done as per the protocol. So the protocol will dictate what would be the treatment that should be given to the patient, what should be the inclusion criteria for the patients, what should be the endpoint, and also what should be the time points. At what time points you need to look at these endpoints. So yeah, it's a very protocol heavy kind of a design, and RCTs are conducted to get FDA approval. So that's why this robustness is required. But what happens is, once the drug is approved and it comes into the clinical practice, then this drug will be taken up in different doses. This drug can be taken up with concomitant therapies. There can be a managed care influence. So at a primary health care, the prescription a pattern may be different. At a tertiary hospital, it may be different. Also, there can be different in the indication or off-label usage. So some drugs are also do have some off-label usage. And best example is your COVID-19, wherein you have seen a lot of drugs, those have been repurposed. for these kind of usage. So they were not approved for COVID-19 indication, but yeah, ultimately they were repurposed for using COVID as well. So that's where the difference is. So in randomized control trials, if the trial is supposed to be conducted for COVID patients, the criteria will be to include patients who have COVID-19, probably free of any other disease, so that there is no confounding that happens. But what happens in the real world setup? You will see that COVID patient is also having maybe diabetes or cardiovascular disorders, and the outcomes are different. The drug which was working good in patients who are having no comorbidities is not working good, and these patients are becoming severe. So that is the challenge in real world. So the patient will have comorbidity. There will be some special population groups like children, geriatrics, pregnant women who are never part of any clinical trial. So then what happens is the data which is generated in these groups or the larger groups, this is more of a generalizable data, and the kind of population and the kind of drug usage pattern is varied as compared to the randomized control trial. The kind of outcomes that we generally look in the real world studies include long-term effectiveness, safety, economic assessment, and also I mean, these can be looked at the quality of life parameters as well. So some of the studies can be conducted to understand patients' quality of life. So yeah, these are some of the outcomes that are typically looked upon in the real world studies. Next slide, please. And quickly looking at some of the sources. So yeah, these are different data sources, and this include data from electronic medical records, hospital pharmacy registries, consumer data, then your claims data, any lab data, social media data. So yeah, these are different sources, and basically what we can say is that real world data is patient level data which is coming from different sources. Next slide. And here we can understand from this slide that real world, whatever the source be, how it is used by different teams, different departments. So research and development, or the R&D teams, they use real world data to do trial optimization. Medical affairs team or the safety teams, they use to conduct direct to patient studies, hybrid mixed model studies. HEOR team would use the real world data to conduct any economic modeling studies, market access studies, conduct retrospective data analysis studies. And commercial teams or the brand teams, they will use it to understand patient journey, brand performance, also understanding marketing effectiveness. So the real world data fits into all the departments of research or commercialization that are used in a pharma or are part of a pharma company. Yeah, so that's where the real world evidence is getting used. Next slide. And here we are looking at the different kind of RWE study types and then the outcomes that are looked in a real world study. So as you see, observational studies, which are either descriptive or analytical in nature, cohort studies, which can be community based or hospital based, case control studies, again, community based or hospital based. So what is community based study? So an example would be where you can do a study to understand what are the long-term outcomes in smokers. So the smokers will be cases here, and it's a community-based study because you are not going to hospital to identify smokers. You can find them in community and do a comparison with those who are non-smokers, which can be your controls. So the cases will be people who smoke and controls will be people who don't smoke. And then maybe if you do a long-term follow-up of say 10 years and you try to see how many of them ultimately have lung cancer in both groups, so cases as well as controls. So it's not that controls will not have it, controls will also have the disease, cases may also have the disease. So there is a risk probability of 30% of smokers who have lung cancer somewhere down the line. So that's how the case control designs can be made, and this can be a long-term follow-up, and this risk can be kind of revalidated, calculated for some diseases where the risk is already not calculated. And then other designs will include your patient database studies, medical record analysis, registries, patient chart reviews, FCDs which are focused FGDs which are focus group discussions, and again social media analytics. So also looking at social media website to understand what patients are talking about for any therapy, any disease area, what is their understanding of the disease, what is their understanding or perception of the treatment that they're taking. And then typical outcomes that we see in RW study include your clinical outcomes, which include your biological measures of morbidity, mortality, surrogate outcomes, and long-term measures. Also, economic outcomes, which include the medical and non-medical resource utilization, cost, medical cost, and non-medical costs. And then patient-reported outcomes, which primarily are related to quality of life. So HRQL is your health-related quality of life, treatment satisfaction, preference, and adherence. So yeah, these are some of the study types and outcomes that are generally looked upon in any real-world study. Next slide. Yeah, so moving on to some of the pharmaceutical industry trends, which are going to impact the job availability in pharma sector in next 5 to 10 years. And these are like some key trends. So in next 2 years time, the pharma industry globally is going to become a $1.5 trillion business. And this is huge. This is huge because you can understand as a country, our GDP is slightly more than $2 trillion. So $1.5 trillion, one industry of $1.5 trillion is huge. Approximately 38% of industry experts expect big data to have the greatest impact in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, again, this is very important. What is big data in pharma? So the word that you just heard about, real world evidence, the real world data is big data. The patient level data is big data in pharma. And 38% of the industry experts say that this big data is going to have great impact in the pharmaceutical industry. So there is going to be a lot of attention towards real world data, and this is going to impact a lot of processes. There will be a lot of new jobs created in the real world segment, and real world segment will be aligned to a lot of other processes. So yeah, that's one important trend to follow. Then also precision medicine or personalized medicine. So as we say that not every solution fits all question, not every solution is like uh, is the right solution for every question. So basically, not every drug is giving the same kind of results in each individual. So precision medicine kinds of look at personalizing the medication, identifying the kind of genome structure, and then based on that personalizing the medication so that adverse events that are happening can be avoided. So as you see the numbers, more than 450 medications were withdrawn in last 25 years, which has impacted the pharma industry. So yeah, there is a push to kind of work toward precision medicine. So that will be one segment which will come up, and there will be a lot of opportunities in the precision medicine segment. Then biosimilars. So almost 66 biologicals are going to be off patent in next 4 years, 21 to 25, and that means a lot of biosimilar applications are going to be made. So then that's a market which will open up. So there will be a lot of opportunities with companies which are into biosimilar segment, companies like Biocon, and some of the Indian companies like Sun Pharma, Vocard, which are developing biosimilars. So yes, they will have opportunities in their biosimilar teams. And lastly, on the labeling side, so there are some labeling mistakes which have led to almost product recalls, which has impacted the industry by almost $100 million. And these labeling mistakes can be avoided. So yeah, there will be a focus on the labeling part, more aligned to the regulatory affairs. So yes, regulatory affairs is again one of the areas which will see some opportunities, some incremental job opportunities which will come in the near future. So yeah, so these are some of the predictions and projections for the factors or which are going to impact the pharmaceutical industry more from a job perspective. So this is what I had put more from a job perspective, because your interest will be to understand which will be the segments which will open up apart from the regular jobs. This is something which will be additional to it. So with that, we'll move to the next part where we talk specifically about the kind of opportunities which are available for pharmacy students. And we are trying to cover here the entire spectrum, right from KPOs or consulting. So KPO consulting, you'll have opportunities in management consulting. So those of you who are interested in management profiles after your uh, graduation in pharmacy, you can go for a MBA degree. This can be a pharmaceutical MBA, or it can be a general MBA from any of the business schools that you do. And after that, you can get into these profiles, which are largely management consulting, more to do with the strategy part of the things. So you can support pharma in strategy building, strategy around the products, Also on the analytics and insights, so there is a lot of demand of people who come with that kind of a data science kind of a background. So if you have been trained on Python, R, SQL, so some of these things, then you can also be part of analytics and insight team in KPOs and consulting firms. And then competitive intelligence CI, wherein you try to look at a competitor's profile, try to map uh, what the competitors' product are, what is the landscape. So that's what CI is. And then HEOR that Richa spoke about. So there are a lot of opportunities with KPOs and consulting firms in the HEOR. The next part is the digital health and analytics, and this is a kind of upcoming concept. Most of the companies are building their digital teams, where they do a lot of work related to artificial intelligence, data mining, analytics. So all that is kind of building up. So those who have interest in digital health can also uh, look for companies which are promoting digital health and are working towards digitalization of the health. So yeah, so that's another thing which is opening up. And with all this digital India mission, I think India is putting a lot of push into the digital health part. So this is going to be expanding and expanding in near term. Then we have CROs, the clinical research organizations. So CROs will have real world evidence. They will also have data analytics, and they will have the core clinical research business as well. So clinical research is their core business. So yeah, that's one thing that you can look for. As part of the KPO consulting business, analytics and insights, so there are a lot of things which you can look forward to as part of A&I teams, which include sales analytics, marketing analytics, data science sales, decision and data science sales, for sales force effectiveness, multi-channel marketing, campaign analytics, predictive analytics. So based on your interest, you can do some courses for analytics, and you can be part of the analytics and insight teams. And this is again a growing trend, and there are a lot of opportunities that you get as part of the A&I teams. Then we have the government and private sector jobs, which include drug inspector, pharmacist. I think all of you would be aware of these jobs. Then we have core pharma. So when I say core pharma, this is for a company like Sun Pharma. So a pharmacist can get opportunities in their research and development department. These opportunities can be in their medical affairs department, in their product management teams, brand teams. Also, there can be opportunities for sales, market access. So these are some of the opportunities that you can get with direct pharma companies. And then in academics, also there are opportunities. So you can get into teaching, or also you can get into research, do academic research. Uh, these days there are a lot of avenues to get grants for conducting research. So yeah, I think that is again one opportunity which can be looked upon it. So yeah, these are some of the career options that are available for pharmacy students, right from consulting, digital health, CROs, to the government, core pharma, and academics. Can we move to next slide? So you know about the job opportunities, but then how do you apply, and how do you reach out to the right opportunity? So I think these are some of the things that you'll have to invest into. So build your brand. You have to kind of build yourself, build your CV. So I think Richa will talk about how you build an effective CV, how you improve your communication. So that is how you can build a brand of yourself. So invest into yourself, build yourself, then reach out and communicate. So you'll have to reach out, and you have to kind of try to understand who are the people whom you can connect with, and probably you can try to identify any mentors who can help you, guide you with your career aspirations. So reach out and communicate with people. Attend workshop and seminars. You are attending one right now, and this is where you get to know things beyond what you have learned in your books. So attend any workshops and webinars which are possible for you to attend, because then you learn things beyond that you have learned in your academics. Build your connections. So yeah, as I said, be connected with your seniors who are in industry. Always be connected with them. Try to connect with new people. Try to connect with industry leaders. So it's not that you send a kind of a friend invite to somebody who is a director or a VP in an industry, and they may not accept your invite. So be connected with people, because you never know, if there is an opportunity with them, they can connect back with you. So yeah, build your connections, and you should be active on sites like LinkedIn, Naukri, Monster. Put your CV there. so that you have greater opportunities. You are aware of any opportunities which are available. Uh, Campus placements. So if any campus placements are happening in your college, just keep your ear and eyes open. Be part of these campus drives if these are happening in your colleges. Uh, then there are some placement drives which are done by the companies. So when I was at TCS, we used to do long drives. I mean, we used to hire like 500 people at a go. So those were the kind of drives. But we used to call people to our offices. So we used to go to the campuses as well. But yeah, we would publish in newspaper. Maybe 2-3 days before these interviews, and people would come and get interviewed. So yeah, just keep your ears and eyes open. Try to see if there is something published by companies like TCS, Wipro, Infosys. All these big IT companies, they publish a lot for opportunities in pharmacovigilance, data management, medical writing, and they recruit in large numbers. So always keep your ears and eyes open. And then internal reference. So if you are well connected with your seniors, with your peers, then always try to share your CV within a company through them, because internal reference is something which helps at least get you an interview. So if you share your CV through a senior or through a colleague who is already working in a company, chances are very high that you will be at least interviewed. And once you are interviewed, then the ball is in your court. How do you perform? Then it depends on that. And if you are right fit for the job, you'll get the job. So yeah, these are some of the ways that you can kind of build and improve your chances of getting a job. So I think with that, I'll pass it on to Richa, where she will talk about how you build your brand and how you kind of improve your communication. So Richa, over to you.
Thanks, Mahendra. Thanks for the insightful session. And I'm trying to move this forward. Yeah. So now let's talk a bit about how to build your CV and effective communication. Okay, so I would like to have some practical examples with all of you when I'm talking about this section. See, there is no right or wrong, and there is no particular template like this template is better than the other. Okay, what information should go in your CV? It should be concise and correct. Correct is the most important word I would like to emphasize, because your CV is a reflection of your skill set. Okay, whatever you write in your CV, all the things a recruiter cannot assess, right? So for example, if you claim that you know meta-analysis, I'm just giving one example that comes on the top of my head. Okay, if you claim that you know meta-analysis and you join a company, and suddenly the very next day you are given a project where you have to conduct a meta-analysis, and if you don't know, you fall flat. Right. So be correct in the information that you provide in your CV. Okay. So profile summary, just summarize your profile. What is your current experience? A brief summary of the past experience, list of conferences or publications attended. I would like to pay a little emphasis here, publications and conferences attended. So this is something that you do beyond your regular 8 hours or 9 hours of job. So these are the thought leadership activities which are generally conducted beyond your working hours. And after spending some time in the professional world, these are the things that give a really different kind of a push to your profile. Fine. So you have to have an edge over to your competitors, over to your peers. How will you build that? Okay, over the years, what matters is what additional have you contributed towards your profession apart from your daily, right? So now if I have to hire a candidate for a senior profile in my team, I, apart from the education background and the skills or the kind of work profile the person brings on the table, I also look at the additional things like, does the person have any publications? Has the person attended any kind of webinars? Are there any kind of awards or accolades in the CV? So as you grow, these things are important. Okay. Then of course your personal details. I mean, it's up to you. Your date of birth, address, contact details, and references as an optional section. Okay. Now, let me quickly take you through the common mistakes that I see in the CV. And because see, the CV is the first impression that you give to someone. So, for example, I receive a CV from any one of you. I have not met you before, but your CV is a reflection. It's a clear reflection of yourself. I have received CVs with spelling error. I have received CVs with various font size and style, starts with Arial 12, ends with Calibri 8. Okay, too much information or putting the wrong information. Too much information means putting any confidential information. For example, if you are working for a drug which needs a reimbursement, you cannot put the name of the drug or the client. Okay, a brief summary is missing. So many times companies receive a lot of profiles and they just go quickly through the brief summary. So your brief summary, the first paragraph, it needs to be very, very impressive. Again, as we discussed, overcommitment. One of the latest examples that I can share with you, a very interesting one. So I was interviewing a candidate and the candidate said, I'm Pharm in pharmacology. The CV said this. Okay, so when I was talking to the candidate, I said, okay, so your Pharm is in master's is in pharmacology, and what was your project? And suddenly the candidate says, no, it was not in pharmacology, it was in different field, it was in pharmaceutics or pharmacognosy. So that actually shocked me. I was angry, I was sad at the same time. Why? Because the person has simply copy pasted it from somebody else's CV. Okay, and in that copy pasting, the person forgot, or it was an error, I would say, what was the person's specialization. So then the story, or I would say the profile ends there. Okay, these are the kind of potential to detail errors and they should not happen in your CV. So be very, very possessive and critic of your CV. Be very, very critical of what information needs to be there and what not. For example, if I have 40 publications, I can't list all the 40 publications, although I would love to do it, but still I would try not to. Put only the most relevant and the important one. You can add on a note that additional information can be supplemented if required. Okay. This lockdown has given us some time to invest in yourself, but before that I would like to share a very important tip with yourself. Many of you are in professional world, many of you would be entering. So whenever you are about to, you are in a meeting with a bigger set of people or a leadership meeting, always introduce yourself with your name. Love your name a lot, okay? And then ask the question like, hi, I'm Richa. My question is this. So what happens is maybe sometime you meet the speaker or your leader somewhere, right? And if you just reference it with your name, yes, my name is this, and I ask the question in that webinar, so that immediately clicks that yes, this person asked us the question. Okay, right. Read whenever possible. Now we have the option of Kindle, ebooks. Learn new skills and do new courses. We would not recommend spend huge amount of money on these courses, but there are various other options, free options or minimal fee option. Ask for students discount. You never know when it works. Focus on mental health. Along with physical health, I would like to stress a lot on the mental health as well. Develop a hobby. Keep some time to yourself. I love writing. I love it immensely. So I dedicate some bit of time in the morning dedicatedly to do writing. Maintain a journal. This helps us in a lot of ways. If you do not have the habit of maintaining a journal, do one thing. You all must be having an email ID, personal one, right? So just read through the mails that you used to write to somebody 3 years back. You will notice a drastic difference. So these kinds of journals, or going back to what you had written sometime back a few years ago, it will help us in deciding like how you have grown, what are still the improvement areas that you all have, and rehearse before any important meeting. I rehearsed for this one and came. Okay, it's very, very important to prepare for any of the meeting before jumping into it. 7 C's of effective communication. I am very much aware of the time and I'll take you through this so that I can give about 10 minutes to the questions as well. So the 7 C's of effective communication should be complete, considerate, concrete, correct, concise, clarity, and courtesy. Whenever you are writing something or saying something, make the sentence complete. Do not assume that the other person will understand. Concise, correct the unnecessary wordiness. Considerate, just try to step into someone else's shoes and see how the person would be feeling. Clarity. The best example would be if you're not able to understand what you have written, believe me, no one will. So, whatever you have written, just read it once and see if you can understand it or not. Concreteness, right? So, whatever communication that you have, you should have done a complete research over it. Correctness, if you're stating any kind of statistical facts or quantitative numbers or qualitative facts, check for the correctness and try to find a reference for that statement. Courtesy, be respectful in all the messages that you communicate. So these are the 7 C's of effective communication, which brings me to the next slide. Your communication should be clear, accurate, fluid, and attention to detail. Fluid, there should be a clear and logical flow. For example, the IMRAD flow in the manuscript: introduction, methods, results, and discussions, right? How will it look if I mix all the section in the results part, right? So have a clear flow of thoughts. Attention to detail, those kinds of small errors, right? Have a good knowledge of MS Word, PowerPoint, and these functions. And do a spell check before submitting any document. And I also have a habit of checking the attachment. Okay, first of all, putting an attachment in any mail if it requires, right? And then attaching the correct document. So I always open and see the attachment, that if it is correct or not. Sometimes it gets corrupt as well. So I try to see if I'm able to open it or not. Okay. With this, we would like to end our session and open it up for any questions anyone has. I think we are good on time.
We are good on time, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mahendra sir, for this wonderful session. And it was very, very insightful for sure. And people who are, pharmacy professionals who are looking for planning their career, you have given every toolkit. It's a, ready toolkit for them. First plan your CV and then apply for HEOR directly. Right? One session, sums everything together. So thank you so much for that. And for participants, please, you can just raise your hand. I'll unmute you and then you may continue asking the questions. So let's start. Who's the first? Who wants to ask the question first? I'll unmute you once you raise your hand on Zoom. Good. Okay. So I'm unmuting Seema. Yeah, please ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Seema Manmodi, and I'm from pharmacology. So my question is, ma'am, doing the clinical courses for like 3 months workshops or 6 months or 1 year of PG diploma, is it will be impactful on your CV?
Along with the degree, yes, not a standalone one, right? Of course, it gives you a push in your career, but I would say along with the degree, so that it can have a more impact. And of course, Seema, it depends on the profile that you want to aspire and grow. For example, right, so you are doing a diploma in clinical research, but you're just doing it that one of your friends is doing it, right? Then it will not help. But if you're really, really inclined towards it and want to grow your career in that direction, Seema, then definitely it would help. Manoj, you want to add anything?
No, ma'am. Perfectly said.
Thank you.
Seema, I hope that answered that, Richa ma'am answered that. Thank you so much, Richa ma'am. And next one, anybody else from the attendees? Anybody else wants to ask any question? You have to raise your hand so that I can unmute you. Yeah, Pooja. Pooja, go on. If you want, you can switch on your video also.
My name is Pooja. I'm currently pursuing my Pharma MBA in IIT Mohali. So my question is, how is the role of data manager evolving from traditional data manager to clinical data scientist with the all evolutions happening in the technology?
Sorry, your question was how is the data manager evolving to? Sorry, I missed on that part.
Evolving from traditional data manager to clinical data scientist with all the evolutions happening on the technology.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever I could understand. Mm, so you are looking at the data manager, clinical data manager role, and evolution of a clinical data manager to role of a data scientist. Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, the data manager traditionally they have been kind of managing these patient level data, which may have been part of a clinical trial or real world studies, any interventional, non-interventional studies. So they have always been playing with data. They have been involved in data cleaning, data queries, resoluting any queries with the site. So that kind of site management and that profile was earlier of what you call as a clinical data manager, and that's basically the CDM profile that we are looking at. So for this person to evolve into a data scientist, so I completely see a synergy here, because the person is very well versed with patient level data. But yeah, there would be some upskilling that will be required here. So the person needs to kind of get trained on some of the data science courses, like maybe on Python or SQL or R, and this person can kind of translate his skills from data management to that of a data science. But yeah, that upskilling will be required. I mean, it's not that uh, by the nature of job that the person may have been doing, he can directly switch to a data science profile, because the data science profile is more analytical in nature, while the data manager role is more to do with the uh, kind of upkeeping of data, cleaning of data, looking at any queries which are there, or even in terms of development of the databases, ECRFs. So I think all that part is what a clinical data manager would be involved in. So yeah, I mean, you'll have to take up these courses to kind of go into the shoes of a data scientist.
Yeah. And thank you so much for answering that, sir. And also we did one whole session on that clinical data management.
Yep.
So that video already, I think you have watched it. If you have not watched it, do watch on YouTube. It is available, and it gives a lot of insights and opportunities. How do you apply? Which companies offer? What kind of salaries? What online courses you should do? Everything is covered in that session. So thank you so much for answering that, Pooja. I hope we answered that. Next, Isfaq, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Isfaq.
Hello,
Yeah.
very good evening to everyone. Myself Ishfaq Rashid. I'm a PhD scholar at NIPER Mohali. At the discussion, my question is to both the presenters today, Ms. Richa and Ms. Mahendra Rai. My question is, as the discussion is all about health economics and outcome research, in our country, we are facing an issue with the real world data, because you need to have real world data when you talk about health economics and outcomes research. Because when we go, I'm working in a primary setting. When I visit a primary setting, we don't have access to databases. Neither we have access to data. Actually, we don't have databases a lot of here. So we are working on case records in hospitals. There is a need to change this scenario into the digital world. How we can change that? Because in a country having population more than 100 crores, how we can shift from case record forms to a digital database in our country?
Thanks, Rashid, for that question. So I completely agree to what you just said on the on the availability of data. So yes, there is a scarcity of data. Most of the data which is there with the hospitals is either as patient chart records, or as you said, case record forms, as CRF. So basically, that journey from being a paper-based kind of data keeping to electronic data recording, I mean, we have started that journey. I mean, we are not at par with how the West is, but yeah, I mean, it's not that we are very behind. So we started this journey some 3-4 years back, and most of the hospitals in private sector you'll see today, they have moved on to electronic EMRs, basically the EMR EHR setup. Some of the large government hospitals, they have also moved to this kind of a setup. And with the digital mission push, there is a push to develop a national repository of patient level data. So that repository will have data coming from all these EMRs in the hospitals across the country. So yeah, we have started it, and probably next 3-5 years maybe we'll have own database. And this database, the purpose, what the government has stated is the purpose of this national repository would be to provide this data for any research purposes. So yes, we are on the right direction. So maybe we'll have to wait for next 2 to 5 years to have any meaningful data from a single source. Otherwise, to do any HEOR projects that we do as of now, we reach out to hospitals and do a lot of manual kind of a data collection, which won't be the case if we have a national repository. So yeah, we look forward to good days when we can get data from a single source.
Sir,
And thanks.
I would also like to know about how the corporates are working. Are they using the same pre-case record forms which are present in hospitals, or they are using databases from different sources, like or outside country?
No. So if the analysis is India specific, then the data has to be India specific. And for that, either what we do is we will reach out to hospitals which are completely electronic. So for most of our projects, we will reach out to the large corporate hospitals like the Apollos, Escorts of the world, Max Group or Manipal Group, and they will have all the data in electronic formats. So then that makes our job easy. Otherwise, if the data is on paper format, then we'll have to digitalize that data, which will take additional bandwidth. So you'll see most of the projects that we do, the data will either come from these top private hospitals, or even if it is public sector data, it will be coming from some of the top hospitals which are mostly on electronic. The data is in electronic format.
So one more point I would like to know, sir, when you are using the data from hospitals, is it subject to ethics approval?
Yes. So for any kind of study, whether it's a prospective or a retrospective data collection, we take ethics approval.
Thank you, sir.
And we need to take Rashid. Nice questions, Rashid. And all the best for your PhD.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rashid, and thank you, Mahendra sir, for answering that. And I would like to add few points here. Few of the PhCs, what they have done, our pharmacy professionals, what they're doing is they are collecting minimal data on Google Forms, of course the decoded one, and then use it for their own performance analysis. To track what kind of medication usage is happening, what kind of questions these people are asking, the patients are asking. See, the real world evidence is all about collecting the evidence on real world scenario at your location. It's a hyper local model, right? So that is what they're doing. In some PhCs, they have started collecting their own data and started analyzing using Google Forms or some very smaller tools, specific tools. And they're using it for research and also for improving the quality of services. Okay, so next question, Mohi, you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hi, this is Mohi, and I have 5 years of experience in pharmacovigilance. My question is for both of you. How can I transition into pharma analytics or health economics outcome research from pharmacovigilance domain?
So Mohi, again, you'll have to see, because you have spent 5 years in the industry, and obviously you won't like to let that go like that. So basically you have to see what are the kind of synergies that are there. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Your voice is breaking, but you're audible.
When you're audible, but the screen froze. I think so. But
Yeah.
that's that. But we can hear you well.
Yeah, you can continue, sir.
Let me just switch off my video. Then probably is it fine now?
It's fine, sir.
Please continue.
Yeah. So we see, you'll have to see what are the synergies in the kind of work that we have.
Okay, we lost him. Richa ma'am, you want to continue?
Yes. Yes. So see, there is a certain overlap, I would say 40 to 50%. And I have personally hired people from the PV background, right? So it's just that a bit of a polishing is required. And I would urge and suggest do a few basic courses on HEOR. So ISPOR, that's International Society of Pharmacoeconomics and Outcomes Research, is a great platform which offers some courses. And I would say self-reading, reading certain books on HEOR, that also helps a lot. Okay, it's not that you cannot. When I have myself taken PV, people from PV background, how can I deny that? Okay.
Yeah, perfect, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Mahi, you're there. You can unmute yourself and then tell if
I got your point.
Thank you so much.
I think
Mahi, for your
I think there is-
information, we did one session on PV. So again, that again covers all of, various connected fields. So you could watch that.
Sir, I think the candidate who wants to change from pharmacovigilance to pharmacoeconomics or health economics outcome research.
Yes.
The
So
basic requirement,
that is also covered there.
the
That is
basic
also
requirement should be the person should be great in biostatistics.
Yeah.
That is one part, Rashid. So there are many other aspects attached to it. Basic understanding. So what I see as an interviewer is agility, learning agility, adaptability, and the person is willing to take a feedback and develop. So that kind of skills, I would say, I would rather focus on the softer aspects of this part, because I know once given a training, a person can pick up.
Yeah, perfect. Well said, ma'am. So Rath, you may please unmute yourself and ask the question. Akanksha, Rath.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Akanksha. I am pursuing MTech Biotechnology from NIT Surathkal. I want to know if HEOR department is exclusively for pharmacy professionals, or can I, like biotechnology professionals, can join HEOR department?
Biotechnology candidates can join. However, of course, they have to go through the various assessments round, which are common for all.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Syed, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Good evening, people, and thank you, sir and ma'am, for this wonderful session. My question for you is, how is a master's in public health going to help me, and how is it different from health economics and outcomes research?
So what I'll say is, when you do a master's in public health, one of the key subjects that you take up is epidemiology. And I think that is something which aligns very well on any pharmacoeconomic analysis. So epidemiology of disease is something which we kind of categorically look at. And as an epidemiologist, if you have a good understanding of how to read the numbers, how to understand, so how to interpret when you have a epidemiology paper, so in terms of incidence, prevalence, and other parameters which are there. So I think that's an added advantage. So I have personally hired epidemiologists every time I built a team. So that is like required for HEOR team. So yeah, it's a good profile actually.
Yeah, it's a skill set that is necessary to build a perfect team, I would say.
Yeah.
I have them in my team, so I can't deny again.
Okay, thank you, Syed, and thank you both of you for answering that. Vandana, you want to ask the question? Please unmute yourself and then ask the question.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Myself, Vanna, I am pursuing M.Pharm Pharmaceutics from University Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Punjab University.
Really? Under which domain, Vandana? What's your specialization?
Ma'am, I am pursuing pharmaceutics.
Okay, so I've done pharmacology under Dr. Anil.
Okay.
So, yeah, Vandana, please go ahead.
Ma'am, my question is that like we are freshers, we don't have any work experience. So how can we build our CV? How can we impact through our CVs?
So when you are a fresher, Vandana, so what I see in your CV is typically explaining a bit about your project. Any kind of webinars or conferences that you have attended, like you have attended this webinar, you can definitely put a reference of this. Any kind of additional certifications you have done. So when I was student at Punjab University, I know there was conference happened organized by the Punjab University itself. So I had done 2 poster presentations, which I think added to my CV as well, and they added certain weight. Okay, since I can correlate Vandana, so I can answer in that way, right? So those kinds of skills, your participation, any posters that you have done. And when I give you a test, Vandana, for example, if you apply, I do not expect a hardcore theoretical knowledge, but what I expect you, at least you are aware of the basic terminologies. And also I focus on a lot on the softer part, which is the soft skills, including your communication, right? How good you are at learning, all those aspects. And of course, you have to know in and out about your project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, ma'am, for answering that.
I hope, Vandana, that clears your question.
Vandana, hope we answered that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So there is some questions in the chat box, ma'am. I'll take one by one.
Yeah, I am actually trying to answer them
Okay.
as I see.
Okay, you have answered few of them.
Simultaneously.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I've answered few of them.
So there is one question from Pooja. She says, has the site work increased or decreased with various technologies like sensors, wearable, EDC apps, etc., playing an important role in the conduct of clinical trials?
So see, all these technological upgrades and I mean, with digital health coming into picture, definitely, I mean, whenever there is a change, there is a resistance to change. So probably people might think that they are kind of overburdened with now these new things, but these things are eventually to help ease the process, and automation is definitely going to kind of ease the process. People are talking about the virtual clinical trials now. So all the recruitments, everything is going to happen online. So you don't have to virtually kind of go to the site for patient recruitment. So all those are enabled because of this technological or the automations, technological upgrade or automations which are coming. And in terms of the digital health, or when we talk about the wearables and these devices, so I think these are like ready data sets which are there. So these are like you get the data dump from these, and this saves the entire time of, or the entire process of data generation, data collection, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, see, in long term, this is going to automate the entire process, fast track the process. Nobody is going to lose any jobs. So it's not, these devices or technologies are not here to kind of do any job threats. But these are going to ease our lives when it comes to conduct of clinical studies or real world studies. So yeah, technology is there for good.
Absolutely, sir. Technology is there for good, for sure.
So Manojji, I'm sorry, I might need to leave. I have an urgent meeting. So Mahendra, if you would like to take a couple of
I
questions.
can stay, no problem.
One or two questions we'll take. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Mahendra sir will take one or two questions.
Sure.
That's all.
Sure.
One question is from Sanket. He says, I am pursuing MPharm in DRA. So what are the entry-level jobs for freshers like me? Number one, what are the qualities, certifications, or online trainings will be helpful that will make my CV strong? And also one more question. My second year MPharm project is about to start. So do you have any trending and future-based topic in your mind? As a fresher student, what do you suggest? Which field should we apply?
So I think, I mean, in drug regulatory affairs, I mean, if you're looking at entry level jobs, again, depends on your interest. So, I mean, if you're looking at jobs in drug regulatory affairs itself, I mean, there are different kind of jobs that you can look at. So it can be in R&D, where again, regulatory affairs plays a important role. And then it can be also related to the product formulation affairs related to that. So I think you can look at those. But yeah, I mean, the world is not limited to the. So this is core work basically when you are doing the core work. But then there are a lot of allied fields, and I would say HEOR, pharmacovigilance, medical writing, these are all allied fields, and you don't do a specialization for these things. So these are again some of the open areas where with some certification, some training, you can also look for these fields as well. So if you are good at researching and be it, I mean, even if you're a pharmaceutics MPharm or a pharmacology MPharm or a DRA person, you have that basic skill set of doing some research, identifying some references which are allied to your research. So if you can do that, I think you can do most of the job which is like being done at a status level in industry. So it's not that you will be limited to, and when I say at a starter job in industry, this is more to do with the consulting KPO kind of work, CRO kind of work, because there you don't need the very specific or keen, because if you have to go industry in a formulation department, then you have to do a MPharm in pharmaceutics, because the job is very much requires that kind of a skill set. But if you go into a consulting environment or a KPO environment, then I think irrespective of your degree, it's more about your passion, what you want to learn, where you want to grow. So if that field is of your interest, I think you can give it a shot. So you can try for HUR, PV, medical writing, I mean, any of the fields.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sir, one more question, final question we'll take from Soham. Soham, if you are there, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, sir.
Soham,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
go on.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. It's Soham from Department of Natural Products, Naipur, Mohali. Sir, my question is related to my field. That means if a researcher wants to do some data handling on herbal drugs interaction and certain drug, synthetic drug as well as herbal drug interaction. So, what kind of challenges or what kind of hurdles I may feel or I may face during the data collection, because most of the times in general public don't disclose their side effects or some interactions with their healthcare providers or doctors. So how these data are generally handled, or how these data are procured for the development of databases or for research.
Okay, so I think your question is that if you have to do a kind of a safety profiling for any, if I have to use Ayurvedic product maybe, or plant-based any product, the thing is that you're saying that this data is not easily available. So how can we kind of ensure that we can capture this data? So I see, for any kind of research, the very first thing that we do is to do the feasibility. So you don't have to go to a place where you understand that you may not get data. So you'll have to first kind of zero down on the right population, which would be the right segment to target for. And trust me, I'm not an expert on CNP, and not very familiar with this kind of research. I mean, we have done mostly for allopathic drugs, and can talk at length about that. But yeah, you'll have to do a feasibility. You have to identify which would be the right centers, right places where there is a, I mean, the chances are greater and people are using. So, I mean, through Ayush or, and just correct me if, I mean, I've not using the right reference. So I don't know if your thing will fall under Ayush. So through Ayush, you can kind of check which are the centers which are predominantly using the kind of products that you are looking at. And maybe you should target then these centers, these sites where there is a good uptake of the kind of product that you are kind of interested in. And larger the sample size, there are chances that you would get your responses. I mean, I don't know what is the kind of percentages that you're looking at. So you reach out to 100 people, maybe 10 are responding back, or it can be even less than that. But just to increase your chances of getting the response, or if it is some data collection which is hospital based, so reach out to the right set of hospitals which have these Ayush departments which may have this kind of data. I mean, that is what I can suggest, but this is not from experience, this is just from common sense that I'm answering this. So don't quote me anywhere.
Absolutely. Soham, you can connect with me. I'll try to provide some
Yeah.
information in that. Okay. So thank you for that, sir. If you have some time, we'll have one more question, sir.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Dinesh, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. This is the last question we'll be taking for this session. Dinesh, you can go on. Dinesh.
Hello.
Yeah, Dinesh,
Am I audible?
go on.
Yes.
Sir, myself Dinesh. Sir, I am in BPharm final year. Sir, what are opportunity for BPharm final year students, sir, graduate in both field, and what are
So,
sir,
so see, I mean, I will encourage if you can also do some kind of course, because B farms can be uptaken. I mean, we at TCS we used to hire people in data management, in pharmacovigilance, people who would come with a B farm degree. So I mean, those are two fields you can always look at. But yeah, for any research-based profiles, so HEOR, medical writing, these are more of research-based profile where you need to do some research. So so the companies will prefer somebody who comes with at least that MPharm degree, because they have done a research project and they have a basic understanding of how a research is done. How do you try to identify similar research which can be used to build your research. So I think that kind of training is required for certain kind of jobs. But yeah, if you are looking for a job immediately after your B Farm, then I think pharmacovigilance, data management would be some of the profiles. I'll encourage you to look for these profiles. And then sales is there if that is your interest. So you can get into pharmaceutical sales. I mean, if there is, because people generally don't want to go into sales. So that's another thing. But yeah, even that profile is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Dinesh, you may watch the pharmacovigilance and the CDM, sessions that we did last month. It has a lot of information, and specifically it has a lot of opportunities for BPharm graduates like you. So you may go on. So this was the last question we have taken, sir. Thank you so much, everyone who was present till now. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking your time and spending time with our students and answering them with the questions, providing them all the information about HEOR. And specific thanks to Richa madam for helping us understand the need of communication and also the elements of CV. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Sir, you are not visible. I think some network issue maybe.
Am I visible now?
Now you are visible, sir. So
I don't know. Today there is some issue at my place. So sorry for that.
Absolutely no problem, sir. It happens. We are in the virtual world and a lot of uncertainties keep happening. So I was just thanking you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, and Richa madam for her time for this session. Special thanks to all my participants who stayed till the end for this wonderful learning journey. And I'm sure this session was helpful in providing you information about HEOR and also information related to communication skills, crafting your perfect CV. So as madam told, there is nothing called as perfect CV. The only thing is it matches best of your requirement, and it is the one which helps you to get the best of your job opportunities. So thank you so much for being with us. And okay, you are back, sir. So I was just thanking you and Richa madam for this session and giving us so much of. You are on mute, sir. You are on mute, sir.
Sorry. So I heard all of that. Sorry, because my I think there is some bandwidth issue. I don't know.
No
but yeah,
problem,
thanks from our side as well. So want to thank you, Manoj ji, for inviting us, and it was. Thanks.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure, sir. You are back now. Thank you so much for
thank you.
Spending this wonderful time with us and sharing a lot of learnings for us. Myself, I was not aware of so much things happen in HEOR. Personally, I'm mostly into medical writing, and this session helped me gain a lot of knowledge and understanding about CV and communication skill as well. So I hope this was helpful for all our participants. And I'll be sharing an email to all of you with Mahendra sir's and Richa madam's LinkedIn profile links. So you may please connect with them and don't bombard them with unnecessary questions and things. Please be specific to your career profile. If you're really interested in HEOR, then please do connect with them. And stay tuned for the next session that we'll have tomorrow, and also next week we'll continue with many more sessions for improving your career profiles and helping you grow personally and professionally. So thank you so much, Mahendra sir. Thank you all the participants, and stay safe, stay tuned for more. If you have not joined the Telegram group, do join, because we have a lot of things happening there. And I with this, I would like to end the session, and I hope it was a wonderful session